Okay, so we're doing the video on how to sew the shawl collar onto one of the jumpers, either Bally Cotton or Jim Plunkett. As you can see, I've got my jumper ready. I've done Bally Cotton. It's a beautiful pattern, really enjoyed doing it. It's a fairly straightforward pattern if you can do a cable. I did have to look at every row. It's not one of those patterns that you can remember once you've started doing it. Well, it's not. I don't think it is. But it's absolutely lovely. I thoroughly enjoyed doing it. It grows really quickly, and say if you can do a cable, it's fairly simple. So I've got my collar here. I've got to be careful with my collar because I do have a right side and a wrong side, right side and a wrong side for my collar. I do the twisted rib stitch slightly differently to how some people do it. I knit into the back of the knit stitch on the right side row, and then knit into the back of the purl stitch on the wrong side row. So I have a definite right side and wrong side to my collar. There's the right side and there's the wrong side. It's like normal rib. So I've had to be careful and make sure that mine's the right way around, so when it folds over, the right side is on the outside. So what I've done so far is I've attached the end of the collar here, just with my sewing yarn. And I've attached the end of the collar here with my with one of the ends that I've got there. Got a couple of ends there. I've measured halfway between the two shoulders, put a little marker, measured halfway for the collar, put the marker, and then I've attached the shoulder seam as well in two places. This looks a little bit uneven, but I'm sure it will. In fact, that's where I think I've gone wrong. I think I've moved that marker. So I'm going to take this one out and I'm just going to move it along a little bit. It doesn't need to be exact, it just needs to be not totally lopsided. That's better. Okay, so now I'm going to sew together. So you've got to think about which way you're going to sew, from which side you're going to sew. So you want I've got lots of extra yarn there for sewing up because I'd like to make sure I don't run out. You don't want your sewing edge to be here, because when the collar's turned over you'll see that edge. What you want to do is you want to turn the collar over and you want to sew here. So this is going to be underneath the collar when you turn the collar over. So I've joined here. Now I'm going to pick up, this is my cast off row. You can see the V's of the cast off row. I'm going to pick up the front, let's call this the front and this the back. I'm going to pick up the front stitch of the cast off and the very end stitch of the jumper. Now, that's a bit of cotton that I've picked up there. Now the reason I do that, the reason I don't pick up the back stitch is because if you pick up the back stitch, when you turn your collar over, the front stitch will be visible, and we don't want that. We want it to be nice and neat. So I just over sew now. As I say, I do have rather a lot of extra yarn here. I'd just rather not have to have another join and have to sew more ends in than I'll have to already. So you just pick up that end. So it's the end knobby bit of the row, and just over sew. Make sure that you're not leaving any holes, that you're doing it sort of quite regularly. It should be every row pretty much. So pick up that stitch and pick up. Try not to only pick up one loop on the jumper because that could pull and make a hole. So I'm sort of picking up the two loops of that end stitch. It just, again, it's just something that I think gives a neater finish. So you just keep going like that all the way around. Make sure you're not twisting your collar as you go round. I'll just go up to the shoulder because it's pretty much, once you've done this bit, it's just sewing this on all the way round, and then I'll do another video to show you how to sew the bottom bits on once I've actually sewn the rest on. You don't want to sit and watch me sew this all the way around. Oh, now I've got a foot from my sewing machine with me. I'll do a couple more stitches and then I'll stop and come back to you in a second video. Okay, so that's my sewing up. So just to show you the other side, this is your side of your, that's going to be folded back with the, it's going to be like that when you actually have it all sewn on. Okay, so I'll come back in part 2 and show you how to attach the two fronts.